not getting major media actually coming in and talking to us like this. They're scanning the audience, and they're getting maybe a homeless person or a hippie, and that is our minority. In fact, it's hard to bring the homeless people into this community because they have been so abused by our social systems, they're afraid. I've had to go out and bring them to get food. I've had to care for them. They don't want to even sleep here. So that's a complete misunderstanding and misperception, and it makes me angry. And as far as the people who are here that are hippies, they're probably the most loveliest group of people I know. They're here from this open heart space without any expectation in return, and they gift and gift and gift and gift. And so that also offends me, that somebody who's that beautiful, who meditates and grounds the space of love, would be accused of being something less than a politician or an attorney or a doctor. Media that is actually reprogramming the world on what is authentic, as what is true, and what's really going on. The majority of the people here are like me. I still have a full-time job. I have a business, but I came here because I couldn't. You know, I have 7 reasons, and that's my children. Best to steward this beautiful freedom zone that we have here. I mean, we stand right underneath the City Hall building that is just this gorgeous temple with the words carved on the stone, "He that violates his oath profanes the divinity of faith itself." That is why we're here. It is our right, and we are celebrating it, and we're having success in Los Angeles, and so we are inviting the rest of the world to follow us because our model is working. We're so proud of the LAPD. We're so proud of our council members because they have had the courage to return integrity to our local governance. If we ever had anything, we would just sit in a space of love and send love to our brothers, send love to our brothers. Listen, we've been infiltrated, and the reason we know we've been infiltrated is because the people who were sent here to work for government agencies or big corpa black ops, once they spend time with us, they're us. And they don't want to be slaves anymore either. And we're one family, and we are a free country, and we're the only free citizens in the world, and the rest of the world is watching us as well. It's time for us to stand up and do the right thing now. I mean, is that too much to ask? Yeah. So we're just asking for integrity to return to money. It's that sacred.
I don't have family, so I kind of just came hoping for something great to like get a part in. Or to me, it means people like still really do care about like a lot of things, like having their money taken from them, and like people really think they can do something about it, so they come here and they like camp out. And you know, I mean, we've marched to the bank a couple times. You know, we were all like outside in the bank. People were like, everyone be advised, there are protesters have entered the building, you know, so I mean, I don't know, I felt pretty, felt like we were definitely doing some protesting, but then all the protesters told us to come back outside because they said we'd get arrested, you know. I wasn't really too afraid of that, but I didn't want to make anyone upset. Well, right now I'd like us to, I'd like to take the body that we have, and I think we really need to work on that first. Like, we really need to make sure there's no arguing lungs or kidneys or muscle spazzing arms that keep punching us in the face, you know? We need to make sure, like, everyone's on the same level. I mean, you go around and you say hi, you're going to get a response. It's not like you're walking on the street and people glare at you or something. It's like you could stop and get to know someone, and, like, then there's another person that you love and another person you care about and want to, like, protect. And, like, if we were all at that point, you know, I mean, the wonderful, like, progress would come. Like, I mean, that's the way I believe things. Like, when you give, like, something like that, you'll get a return. And, like, through that return, we'll get better ideas. We'll get, like, a stronger will. We'll get, you know, everything will, like, start brightening up. I mean, I've been to the General Assembly meetings, and there's a serious problem with mic control, and I mean, there's people that want to say their views, and a lot of people have good things to say. Some people don't, but everyone tries to get up there just the same. But a lot of the times when people try to go up there, they have this thing called mic check, and you yell mic check, and if you want somebody next to you to shut up and you want everyone else to start yelling, that's what you do. And I kind of haven't really liked mic check that much. I mean, I don't know, but that's another thing to say, we're not a completely functioning one body. We're still separate. Well, I wouldn't say it's unfocused. I'd say it just had an attention deficit disorder. Yeah. We just need a bright light to come in and be the nice medicine that puts it all together and puts it all to focus. You know? I mean, everyone who's protested has gotten something. I mean, look at New York and Boston, and they've got San Francisco going. And we need to get to the rich. If it's a movement or if it's a protest or whatever, if it's angry or kind, we need to get to the rich. Go and find them. I mean, I don't know. On a personal level, the only thing I can do is look someone in the eye and really tell them what I think about life. And if we can just get enough people to find all these people with millions of dollars and all, and just tell them, you really don't need all this stuff. You don't I mean, I know it's great, but I mean, you can survive without all this money. I went up there and burned money on stage. I don't know if anyone really understood what I was doing, but currency is completely ridiculous. In Iceland, have you heard about what happened in Iceland? They were in all that debt, and then they just said, we're not going to pay any of our debt. We're just going to cancel it all, and they're doing fine. But you haven't heard a lot about the fact that they're doing fine on the news. It's why haven't we been told about people who have conquered debt so easily? And they're flourishing again. As far as I know, that's what I've been told.
Occupy Los Angeles to me means empowerment, means a voice, means coming together with a community that feels very strongly that there's changes that need to be made in our government, in the system that has failed us, especially us poor people, students, teachers, just everyone, and it's really important for us to be here, to have our voice be heard, and we're not alone. That's what it means. We are not alone. We are a 99% that's unhappy right now with what our government has been doing as far as priorities. I think, I'm not surprised, but I'm just wow, so inspired, because many times, I like to travel, and I traveled a bit, in Latin America or mostly Central America, and you talk to so many people who have the same situations, have the same struggles within their governments. So at the same time, I'm not surprised, that this is happening worldwide, because the immigration, for example, is a big issue in so many countries. You're in Spain, and you have people from Morocco who are going into Spain, in Africa, and everywhere, in Central America. It seems like neighboring countries, if one is doing better than their neighbor, there's a little friction there. And so it's just not surprising that so many people are oppressed in many ways, and that the governments are really more catering towards those who are better off, and I think it's time that people do realize that this is a worldwide, problem. It's an issue, and that we're not coming together to address it. That's really powerful. It's awesome. I think the governments really need to put their foot down and say, we need to take care of those who have needs. Okay, do you have health care? No. Okay, well, let's make sure you have that. Education, do you have access to education? Okay, let's make sure you have that. Something as basic as a shelter, do you have a place to live? Can you have food on your table? Those are real basic needs. And once our governments, from all over the world realize that people need that, and I mean, I don't know how they could not, but just when they feel the pressure, I think, and they have a little conscience, and think, wow, we really need to take care of our people. That needs to happen, and of course, since it hasn't happened that way, now that's the way the people are turning to the streets and making their voice heard and getting, you know, with other people in their communities who feel the same way and are ready to demand, you know, those basic needs even. You know, I could say that at this time we have so many issues that we all bring to the table, so many, you know, things that would need to be addressed, and this has been going on for decades. You know, I mean, I would say the 60s is probably the last time that everybody got together and really said, oh, you know, we have this issue or that one, you know. And now, decades later, I mean, this has just like been boiling and boiling until now it's like, woof, you know, overflowing, and people are saying, well, you know, healthcare, education, and, you know, the banks are, you know, the priorities of the government, student loans, all that. So I think that that's why it seems like unfocused, but in reality, it's all related in many ways, and it all, I think, comes down to the government's priorities, which do not reflect people's needs, and that is the problem, and that's why there's so many issues, because we have so many issues now.
Every face I look into, the eyes of everyone. I know it sounds hippie, but I am. And I look into everyone and I see myself, and every moment is inspiring to me.
So I think our outreach to the city beforehand really had an influence, and a few other things that I think are in play is the city's been sued for violating First Amendment, so I think they're a little sensitive to those things. And I also think, and I haven't been able to confirm, but I think LAPD is under investigation by the FBI for police brutality. So I think there's some things kind of in the background that not everybody knows about that's influencing the fact that we're having better relations with our city than other cities. And there was a guy that was at New York at the Wall Street occupation, and he was telling me how in New York the police are completely different there. So I think there's also just a cultural or geographic difference. I know my First Amendment right does not end at any point at all. It's protected, but there are other laws that the First Amendment doesn't protect against, and if there's occupiers who insist on breaking those laws and we start to create a bad situation with the city or unsafe situation with occupiers, that may have an impact on it. But I know that I'm willing to be out here as long as I can, and a revolution doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a week. It doesn't happen in 2 weeks. So hopefully as long as it takes to revolutionize the system.
Yo! When I was a kid,
back in seminary school,
in our lower middle income house, the freeway came and we had to move. So up until my 20s, I was clearly in the 99. Due to my band, I'm not in the 1, but I'm pretty good. But I have never forgotten that I came from the 99.
trying to stay out of their way, and one of their officers charged at me with a stick and rammed a stick into my belly and pushed me over and pushed over a group of 3 or 4 of us standing there. were not engaging him at all. We were just trying to figure out what was going on because there was no communication. You know, they just came in there commando militant style, said absolutely nothing. There's been, you know, there was no loudspeakers, orders to disperse. There was no communication whatsoever. They just came in and essentially they took our tents, threw them upside down. They attacked a few people that probably were not cooperating as much as they'd like them to be, and pretty much beat them down to the ground and brought them in. But there's a group in the center of the square where we have some tents set up. They're peacefully protesting. What they've done is they've obviously isolated off the whole area so you can't get in there.
In Los Angeles, home of the nation's oldest and largest occupation, roughly 1,400 police surrounded demonstrators, gave them a 10-minute warning to leave, and then moved in, arresting upwards of 290 people and trashing hundreds of tents and supplies. According to reports, the LAPD selected a few official journalists to cover the raid and then blocked others. Those who were selected were banned from tweeting the event live. By 2 a.m., the Occupy LA encampment was no more.
It was unbelievable at every level. Basically a blitzkrieg from the LAPD, 1,400 police officers pretty much storming and surrounding the entire City Hall within a matter of minutes. I've never seen anything like it before. I don't think the LA Police Department has ever done anything like that before.
Lots of media outlets, James, are praising the police for their restraint. I haven't seen any reports of serious injuries. We didn't see any video of people being pepper sprayed and things. Would you agree that, you know, setting aside the fact that this took down the movement, that at least the response was reasonable?
Yes, I can absolutely say, without a doubt, it was reasonable, considering you know what was happening there, considering what had happened there. There was literally not a single incident I saw of either police brutality in any way, shape, or form. We did have a few people shot with beanbags who were held up in a tree. They were the last, you know, occupiers to be pulled out of City Hall, the park there. But other than that, I think they behaved incredibly well, and I actually got to commend them for that.
Okay. And what are Occupy LA's next plans?
Yeah, that's the real question. We had a very difficult time getting organized there. It was a very challenging environment to work in, right in the midst of, you know, one of the biggest homeless populations in the country. We were overwhelmed with issues that we were basically incapable of dealing with effectively. We're not police officers, we're not social workers, and yet we spent most of our time dealing with issues that we basically weren't prepared to deal with. So it really kept us, I think, from doing the work that I and many of us came there to do. I think last night proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the movement is a peaceful movement and a nonviolent movement. I think it's going to bring a lot of light to what we always said that we were. We proved that we were that last night, and I think that is going to be very positive for us. I think the real issue now is, can we unite under a common message and a common vision? We were unable to do that when we were on the ground. This may help us move in that direction. I think in the next couple days we'll get an idea of how we could possibly regroup. It's a little unclear.
You need to know this. One day after Occupy Los Angeles was evicted, the LA City Council plans to pick up their message. Next week, the City Council will be voting on a resolution calling for Congress to amend the Constitution to end corporate personhood, one of the primary demands of the Occupy Wall Street movement. Voters in Boulder, Colorado and Missoula, Montana have passed similar resolutions. This is just the latest victory for the 99% movement that has managed in just 2 months to steer debate in America away from deficit reduction and austerity and toward job creation and wealth inequality. So, needless to say, conservatives and their campaign donors, who reside generally comfortably in the 1%, are a little worried.